Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
All right. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Tate. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about the crazy drama that is going on with the Los Angeles Lakers. We're also going to talk about the fact that Toronto Raptors overcame a 0-2 start to come back to win 4 in a row to take the Eastern Conference Championship, and now they are about to go on and face the three-time champion, going for three-peat, five finals in a row, Golden State Warriors. So to kick things off, we're going to go ahead and talk about how I am absolutely shocked that the Toronto Raptors actually won the Eastern Conference Finals and is now going to be playing the Golden State Warriors for the NBA championship. And there's no real surprise that Golden State is actually in the finals. I think most experts had Golden State going to the finals. But when you look at most of the experts, everyone was taking Milwaukee to win this whole thing. Not just the Eastern Conference, but there was a lot of experts that were taking Milwaukee to win it all. And if you look at last show, we were talking about how the first two games, it looked just that way, that Toronto was kind of outmatched. Milwaukee had a deeper bench. They had better coaching. They had better three-point shooting. They had better defense. They had everything that looked better. And when you looked at it, it was Giannis versus Kawhi. That was the only thing that was close. And then Nick Nurse made a big change at the end of Game 2. And what he did was, this is when he decided that he was going to put Kawhi Leonard on Giannis. And whenever Giannis was not there, they were going to double and triple team Giannis so that they controlled Giannis. And the thing about Giannis that they kind of notice is that Giannis likes to get the ball at the top of the key, at the top of half court, and then drive straight down the middle, in which they just had everyone collapse on him and take that driving to the middle away from him and make him shoot mid-range shots. And it almost didn't work. The first time when in Game 3, they were just adjusting to it. They weren't collapsing down. It took a couple quarters before it started to work. Game 3, which would have changed everything for Milwaukee, because it took 2 overtimes, double overtime, for Toronto to win that one. Just that change. If Milwaukee would have been able to win in overtime, at any point, they would have went up a commanding 3-0 lead, and this series would have been over, and Milwaukee was going to the finals. But it didn't happen that way. And after Game 3, Toronto never made the adjustment to Kawhi on Giannis. They didn't make the adjustment to how they would collapse down and kind of out physical Milwaukee. And once Giannis was kind of taken out of the game and he was forced to make mid-range jumper after mid-range jumper, his foul shooting went down. Everyone else became, it's kind of like everything was kind of created right off of Giannis. And so you had a situation where other players weren't stepping up. If you had a few other players that would have stepped up, it could have opened up the doors a little bit more to spread things around to give Giannis more opportunities, but it just never happened. It just never came to fruition for them. And because of that, you have a situation where Milwaukee, who hadn't lost 3 games in a row all year, ended up losing 4 straight and got, in a better word, swept out of the playoffs. They won the first 2, but then it was a clean sweep from that point on. 4 straight games, they're out of the playoffs, and now you have a situation where you have the Toronto Raptors and Drake heading to Golden State. And when you look at this matchup between Golden State and Toronto, I know Vegas and a lot of people are going to look at this and say this is going to be an easy win for Golden State. I don't see it that way. You have a situation where the Raptors are actually moving with a lot of confidence. They're not rusty because they've been in a series, and Golden State's been the one sitting around resting. And game 1 is the key. Game 1, you're going to have a situation where Golden State, who has been sitting around waiting on Toronto to make it to the finals, now game 1, it's going to be in Toronto, so you're going to have to travel to Canada. They have not just home field advantage, but home country advantage. That place is going to be rocking. Toronto's going to be sharp. I truly, truly expect Toronto to win game 1. I have very little doubt. I know Golden State has been to the finals 5 straight times. They're going for 3-peat. They're very hungry. But I look at game 1 as a pivotal game for Toronto. They have to get game 1. If Toronto messes around, though, and loses game 1, then it's just bad news. It's just going to be all bad news for them. But if they can take game 1 and even take the 2 games at home, the one thing that they have to push for is to try to make this a rough and tumble type of a series in which it goes 7 games. If it goes 7 games, then I give Toronto a real shot. But at any point, if Toronto lose any of the first 2 games, then I got Golden State winning this in 6 games. I just look at it as if they lose a game at home, Golden State wins, goes back to Oracle, takes 2 more games there. Just the momentum, the fact that Boogie Cousins will be back, Iguodala will be back. You may even get Durant later in the season, in the playoffs here. That's just way too much. They cannot fall behind. Toronto has no choice but to get off and really take it to Golden State, or they have no shot. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that Los Angeles Laker drama and what's going on there. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Okay, we're back. We just touched on a little bit about the Toronto Raptors upsetting the Milwaukee Bucks. And we'll touch a little bit more about how we think they're going to fail against Golden State. But the big story today is the report that came out from a writer from ESPN who had been following and interviewing Laker front office and coaches and employees. And boy, he had a heck of a report here. In the report, he talks about how when you refer to Magic Johnson, there was Magic Johnson, the face, which was Magic was the guy, the fun-loving, the guy everyone loved. And then there was Irvin. And Irvin was the businessman who was like the cutthroat businessman who on a couple of different occasions employees had panic attacks after being in meetings with him. How he was he was called kind of a bully. And then there was a report. In this report, they also talk about how Jeannie Buss runs the Lakers kind of as a family mom and pop type business, which is something that has already been out there. But this kind of confirmed it a little bit more, that she has a lot of people in her ear, from Kurt Rambis to Jeannie Rambis to Phil Jackson, Rob Pelinka. Then when you talk about Rob Pelinka, this is one of the more damning statements. The lack of trust, that there was numerous accounts of how people just didn't trust him, how they went as far as to call him kind of untruthful or even a liar even. And then there was also some talk about that LeBron James's agent Rich Paul had unprecedented access to the team. So that was a report. I wanted to touch on that. And Magic Johnson was on ESPN, and he addressed his, and he denied that he's ever had a problem with any of the employees. And he talked about how he had never been into, human resources and things like that. And I think Magic makes himself very credible when you're looking at things, and if you're a business owner or you're a manager or you're a boss, especially someone like Magic Johnson, you're used to seeing the celebrity Magic Johnson, the Magic Johnson with the big old smile. He's shaking hands, he's kissing babies, he's Showtime. But as an executive, you also have a job, and your job is to get the most out of people. And when you have a situation where when you come on to a job like the Lakers, you kind of sometimes you gotta clean house. And so if everyone's coming in and they're thinking they're going to get Magic Johnson, the very nice guy, and you come in and you meet the guy that's going to fire you, your whole opinion of Magic Johnson will change. So when you look at that, because of what the position he's in, he can't be, as an executive, you cannot be everyone's friend. Being a boss is the absolute definition of I'm no longer your friend. And if you have a bunch of people that Magic's been around the Lakers office for years as a friend, as an ambassador. He comes in, he says hi to everyone, shakes hands, shows, a lot of support for the Lakers, and then he leaves. But now, as an executive, he's walking in that office as your boss. And he has to make the tough decisions on, no, I don't want Luke Walton here. Or this executive, they're not doing the job right. Or maybe they're slacking off. I can't be your friend. I have to let you know, either you do the job or you're gone. And that's part of being an executive. Now, when you talk about the one part that they talked about that was kind of LeBron James's agent having unprecedented access, that was brought up, and Magic Johnson addressed that, and also LeBron James's agent also addressed that issue. When you talk about Rich Paul, the unprecedented issue, Rich Paul was on the East Coast. He was flying back to the West Coast. He asked Magic Johnson, hey, do you mind if I ride back with you guys cross country on the plane? Well, it's not something that an executive would normally say yes to, but Magic said yes. And pretty much they just said that was a one-time deal only. He rode across country one time. So I don't really give that much, I don't get that excited about the fact that Rich Paul rode on the Lakers plane one time. It's not something that an agent would not normally be on a team plane. But when you look at the situation, it was a one-time deal. They were also in the midst of trying to get Anthony Davis to come to the Lakers, which is Rich Paul is his agent. I have no problem with that, especially if you're trying to make trying to get Anthony Davis on board on coming to the Lakers. So no, that's not a big deal. The most damning report to me still goes with Rob Pelinka. And everything that I keep hearing keeps going back to Rob Pelinka. When you look at Rob Pelinka and the backstabbing that Irvin Magic Johnson talks about how there was one person that was doing the backstabbing. He made no bones about it. It was Rob Pelinka. When you listen to other agents and other executives, and they're saying, listen, this is a guy you cannot trust. This is a guy that has no problem lying to you. And they use the word lie. Other agents, other executives who want nothing to do with Rob Pelinka, where they talk about how Rob Pelinka told everyone that Kobe Bryant was having dinner with Heath Ledger and he had already passed away. Just a lie for no reason. And the reason why I say this is the most damning of all things is because numerous executives and numerous agents have made this statement that you cannot trust Rob Pelinka, that they do not want to work with Rob Pelinka. And if you're the Lakers and you're coming off of 5 years that you haven't made the playoffs, and you look around and you're saying, hey, I want this free agent to come meet here. Well, if your agent doesn't want you to go there, most likely your client's not going there unless they go against their agent. If you're trying to make a trade like the Anthony Davis trade, and you have a situation where no one wants to trade or even talk with Rob Pelinka, it literally puts you and your organization in a bad place. And it goes back to the last part about thinking about Jeannie Buss, and they talk about how Jeannie Buss runs the Lakers like a family mom and pop business. And I feel like Jeannie is trying to put people around her that she knows and that she trusts and that she's comfortable with. But it's kind of right now, it's kind of backfiring on her. The smart thing to do, they had a great opening. Magic set them up perfectly. They should have, when Magic stepped down, this was an opportunity to clean house. They should have got rid of Rob Pelinka. They should have got rid of Luke Walton and then brought in a top flight executive, a Pat Riley, a Jerry West, whomever. The Lakers pretty much had their pick of any executive they wanted. But that's what that organization needs. They need a top-down executive, an executive that's going to come in and rebuild this organization and have it run like a well-oiled machine that they were known for under Jeannie's dad. And when you look at things right now with the draft coming up, with trades that are possible coming up here, is it time for the Lakers to just cut bait and just say, you know what? Before the draft, we're going to cut bait with Rob Pelinka. I say yes. I think the Lakers should get rid of Rob Pelinka, and then they should go out and bring in a real president of basketball operations and a real general manager, and that way they have a situation where they can actually go out and get some top flight free agents. Because not only are you with the Lakers, not only are you trying to get a top tier free agent, but you have to surround LeBron with shooting. And so you have to go out and get some shooting. You got to go out and get another free agent. And that's a lot of work for a first-year general manager, Rob Pelinka again, and a general manager that no one likes and no one wants to work with. That is a recipe for disaster. The Lakers should make the move to let Rob Pelinka go and start over fresh while they have a chance.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.